Well, hello and welcome to my world, folks. I'm so excited to be here with you tonight. Talk leadership with Cedrick is where we focus on leadership and personal growth with business leaders, educators, and local thought leaders. So, welcome to Talk Leadership with Cedrick. Everybody needs a little TLC, and I'm excited to be here with you tonight. Our goal is to introduce our audience to leaders who are making an impact with innovative ideas. Now, our guiding leadership principle is the law of consistency, which says motivation gets you going, but discipline keeps you going and growing. So you have to develop the good habits that lead to success. And let me tell you something, folks, just showing up is 80% of success. You see, some people just refuse to show up. So you can beat them out easily by just showing up consistently every day. And I love what Bruce Springsteen said. He says, a time comes when you need to stop waiting for the man or woman you want to become and start being the man or woman you want to be. Now, that's just awesome right there, right? So tonight, folks, we have another set of dynamic leaders who are showing up consistently every day. So let me introduce you to our guests. Now, every week I like to do a proper introduction of our guests. So let me do a proper introduction of Mr. Kent and Priscilla Pate. So welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Thank you, Cedrick.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm excited to have you here. So let me tell you a little bit about Kent and Priscilla. Now, they've served in the full-time ministry together for the last 26 years. Consistency, folks, right? Their ministry is unique in their realm that it has encompassed many facets of service, right? They've served as pastors in the Dallas, Texas area for 10 years and are founders and president of the Kenton Pate Ministries, a nonprofit founded in 1999. This organization's vision is to advance the kingdom of Jesus Christ through training leaders locally and internationally. They have been privileged to take the gospel to 17 nations around the world. That's just amazing, spreading the love of Jesus Christ everywhere. Because of their proven success record, their programs have been requested and expanded to the Texas prison systems. Their training is being specifically targeted to United States veterans, reaching both incarcerated men and women near and far. And let me tell you what, Kent and Priscilla are both certified John Maxwell team members. And this is how we met. They are the founder and CEO of Lift Leadership and Consulting. That's an awesome name. I really like that. They have assisted in pioneering 3 Bible colleges, numerous churches, and helped launch mission work throughout the United States and around the world. Again, getting back to that consistency word, folks, right? Their creative avenues of communication have proven to be highly effective and is contagious for living a fun, joy-filled life while serving Jesus Christ. That's just awesome. So Kent and Priscilla have been married for 35 years and have 3 grown children and reside in Midway, Texas. Kent and Priscilla hold both credentials and are licensed and are ordained through the Church for You and the Heritage of Faith International. They have been guests on both Daystar Television Network, TBN, and have recently been guest on the Victory Channel and featured on the Believer's Voice of Victory magazine. So let's welcome Ms. Kent and Priscilla Pate.
Thank you, Cedrick. Wow, you've got me motivated. You're speaking my language.
Well, you guys have an impressive resume, and it speaks consistency all the way throughout. So it's awesome. So I'm excited to help you have you guys share with our audience tonight about your journey and what you're doing and how they can get involved. So let's just start off here. And Ken, I'll start with you. And first, tell us about your journey, to leadership, and how did you get where you are today? And Priscilla, I want you to join right in once he
Okay, all right.
Well, Cedrick, it's funny that sometimes as we grow, we discover, and we continually have discoveries in our journeys of life. And I told Priscilla earlier this morning, I said, I'm more aware today of the home that I grew up in, had such strong leadership, more aware today than I ever have been. So I had the wonderful opportunity to grow up in the home of a lieutenant colonel, United States Marine Corps, but he was also a high school superintendent. But I watched him as a young boy. I watched him as a football coach grow to the next level of being a high school principal, and then ultimately becoming a school superintendent, and at the same time being in the Marine Corps Reserve, a commanding officer. So leadership really began as a young boy for me, not even being aware that I was living in the home of a great leader. And then over a period of life, connecting with you at the JMT, realizing that leadership is so powerful. First of all, leading ourselves, leading our families, and leading communities. Leadership has brought transformation not only to my life, but through my life, and trying to help others to find clarity, to clarify their passion, their purpose, and fulfill that.
Wow. Well, that's awesome. It's amazing because you never know when you're when you were growing up, he was just dad, right? He wasn't, oh, well, this is a great leader, right? And like you said, when you get older and you think back on things, then you start realizing, wow, that my dad really was a great leader. Awesome. And Priscilla?
Well, of course, now my dad was a military man also, and he was a Marine, and grew up kind of that same way. My dad went from the mail room to the boardroom. He was an executive, corporate executive at a bank. And so anyway, I was taught and spoke that same language to growing up. I didn't know anything different. I thought everybody lived like that. I thought everybody had to get up, make their bed up every morning. I didn't know, so it was a life that, it was instilled in me. And so when Kent and I met, we met real young. We met when we were both in high school, and he came to my house and was like, wow, this is like my house. And I would tell him things, and he's like, yeah, I had to do that too. So I thought, this is a match made in heaven, because not everybody probably could, understand that type of training and that type of language unless you grow up in it, So our kids always laugh and say they feel like they were raised in boot camp. And I said, well, nothing to me. We were both raised in boot camp too. But I think it makes for a good mix. I really think it does. So yeah, that was our story. So we were both blessed to have strong leaders from birth on up, so.
Wow. Well, that's awesome. And here's what's going to happen. Your grandkids are going to grow up and they're going to feel like they're in boot camps.
That's right. Yeah, it's a generational thing, I think, for sure. My kids didn't appreciate it, but I think now that they're getting older, they understand, oh, this isn't so bad.
Exactly. Yeah, it's amazing how things change, right?
Yeah, sure.
So you guys are the founder and president of Kenton Pate Ministries. When did you get the call to become religious leaders?
Cedrick, that's a great question. And Priscilla and I grew up in Christian homes. I lost my dad when I was 11. He passed away in an auto accident. So that really flipped my world upside down. And so I had about 6 years of walking through a season of not having that protector, not having that provider, and really seeing a different world that I had never experienced before. And I think God has used that in my life to help reach others that have gone through trauma, gone through losing a loved one, whatever that trauma is. And I've realized with the veterans, the post traumatic stress disorder that they deal with, they deal with some kind of impact, a negative impact in their life. And sometimes it just knocks them off course. And I know that feeling that I experienced as a child, but I met Priscilla when I was 17 years old, when I walked in her home on a July the 4th celebration party. The house was filled with Marines. And I thought, man, this feels like my home that I grew up in. And yeah, I wanted to salute. There was a flag flying in the front yard, and I'm like, wow, deja vu. I've been here before. And so that's where Priscilla and I really connected, and I connected with her father and her uncles, and just strong leaders. And so what happened over a period of time, as Priscilla and I got married and went through struggles and challenges of growing and arriving at parenthood and having 3 children, challenges in corporate America and jobs and the things that people deal with in life.
Mm-hmm.
I was praying and I was asking God to send some leaders into my life that could help me to take the next step of being a good dad, being a good husband. I knew there were some things that I was missing. And so long story short, I was a field engineer for a company that I did a lot of work at NASA and traveled around. And I got a call one day that said, you need to go install a unit in a church. And I thought, I worked in high-tech electronics and robotics. And I thought, a church, that seems so strange. And I told the lady on the phone, I said, a church? Are you sure? She says, yes. Kent, we don't do churches. I said, oh, I know. We're doing Mexico World Services and Exxon and NASA and Rockwell and all these big companies. But who is this church? And it was Lakewood Church. Had ordered one of our units, and I went out there and I met John Osteen. This is back in 1994. Long story short, he prayed for me, and I came home, and Priscilla asked me that day, where you been? I said, I've been to the Oasis of Love. And she said, the Oasis of Love. I said, well, that's what they call this place that I went to. And I said, I was at work today, and they've got these bumper stickers they put on people's car, and it says the Oasis of Love. It's a church, and it's called Lakewood Church. And she says, whatever happened to you today, you don't look the same. And I said, well, that little bitty man in that great big church prayed for me, and I don't feel the same. And so that was a defining moment that caused a hunger on the inside and a quest to search for what's my purpose. And so that was a transition point for us.
Wow. So I'm going to go back to the beginning of what you were talking about. You said you met Priscilla on July 4th, right? So that means you were going to see fireworks, but then fireworks went off. When
It really did happen.
That's good. Yeah.
I thought he's pretty cute. And the rest is history, Cedrick.
Yes, 35 years later, right?
Well, there was some fireworks that day.
That's right.
Yeah, you're right.
We've been together ever since.
Well, that is that's awesome. So I know that you're both a part of the John Maxwell team, and in fact, they recently had the international conference, right? IMC conference. So I assume that you both are doing leadership development from a biblical perspective, right?
Exactly.
Yes.
Okay. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, well, we've kind of adopted the same John Maxwell strategy. We use it as a biblical perspective, but it has opened so many doors for reaching the ones that don't know Christ, and being able to give us a platform to be able to walk in with all the curriculum that we use has the gospel woven all in it, whether it says it or not, right. So it's been a tremendous platform to be able to use.
Wow. Well, you're absolutely right about the scripture is all woven in this. And, when you go into some organizations, you never know who you're going to come across. Right. And sometimes you just are just teaching and things come out. Right. Meaning things come out of individuals. I've had times where tears have been shed right in the room because you're sharing these words, and you're not saying Matthew 1:5 says this,
right? But
really, you're saying that, right?
Yes, exactly.
And it's amazing though what happens when you are a transformational leader and you're leading people. Transformation just happens.
That's right.
Exactly. We have seen that over and over again. We've done coaching. There's been coaching sessions that we've been a part of, one-on-one coaching or group coaching. And, of course, we tell people that we're believers, but we never, really preach. We're just sharing things through the curriculum and through the teaching and trainings. And we've seen people come to us and say, hey, I need to go back to church. Hey, I really feel like I need a devotional for me and my spouse, things like that, that only God can do that, And so just watching how the things that you present, they are so scriptural and biblical, but it's not preaching at them. And so it draws people to want what you're telling them about.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. And I do a lot of training in Louisiana, and it almost every time happens that someone will come up to me afterwards, and we're not even in the church, will come up to me and afterwards and say, hey, where do you preach at? Because I want to go to your church.
We hear that same thing.
Yeah, it's amazing. So, we're in this pandemic time, right? So what are some of the challenges do you think that churches face in leading the flock during this COVID environment?
Well, Cedrick, one of the things that they're facing is, as you know, and your listeners are very aware of, is church has changed. And so it's not church as usual anymore. And so where people are accustomed to coming together on Sunday or Wednesday or whatever time it is that they're coming together to celebrate together, to connect with each other, it's really been a struggle. And we've had a lot of people tell us, I really miss connecting with people. Because we're designed to connect with people. We're not designed to be lone rangers and alone, and we need relationships. And, just like what you have right here today and what we're doing, churches have had to go to look at live streaming to reach a new audience. And so it's new. It's not that it's bad. It's new. It's making those adjustments. And so we're connected with churches that now they're reactivating again slowly with restrictions that they're abiding by the law, but yet they're able to start coming back together now. But it has been a change. I know in the Navajo Nation, one of the things that we did, it actually opened up some opportunities for us on Zoom calls to start having really kind of little church sessions on a Zoom call or a conference call or whatever it may be, of just praying for one another, connecting and sharing simple biblical messages. So I think during this pandemic, if we can just continue to look for ways and techniques and strategies to connect with people, to encourage people, to uplift people, and to continue to bring the good news, where there seems to be no way to do it, there'll always be a way.
Sure. Yeah.
And I think it helped us to think out of the box some, taking a negative and making a positive out of it, because some of the things that people were intimidated to do was just like doing Zoom calls or video calls or, doing your teachings or reaching your clients that way, or however it helped, to be able to think different. And I think that was the same way with the church. The church had to think of new ways to reach people. And, I've heard from a lot of pastors that said their reach is huge now online, that people now are beginning to watch online. So, it's not being so stuck in one method. It's learning that there are a lot of different ways to reach people. And if we'll just take advantage of those and not get stuck in the old methods, but we'll open our mind up, be creative, have a discovery mindset, and begin to start thinking, okay, what can we do that's different, that can, enlarge our audience? And so that has been a wonderful thing, I believe, that has really pushed people out of that old mindset of doing church just the way we've done it for years.
You're absolutely right. And it's amazing because now I know I probably think a little bit radical around this, but I really believe this. I believe that God was sending a message specifically to church. Because, and hear me out on this, because churches, and like you said, in the old ways, is they would always say, oh, no, I'm not getting online. That's just the devil's work and all of this type of stuff. Well, but we say we are Christians and everything on heaven and earth below heaven is made by Jesus Christ, right? If it is, then the social media and the internet is not the devil's work, right? It's created by God, right? And he says, go out and bring believers to me, right? Well, years ago, there used to be preachers on the corners, right? To do that. Well, we stopped doing that. So we were just preaching really to the people within our four walls. So we're no longer then going out and reaching people. So he says, okay, so what I'm going to do, since you don't want to listen to me in this, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put it so people can't even go into your building. You see, now you're going to be forced to either close down or use what I made available to you to go out and reach thousands and millions. Right. And now you see churches, you know, if you're not online right now, you're probably not going to be a church long. You're not going to be a functioning organization long. Right. So you're reaching people not just in your four walls, but you're reaching people not just in your city, not just in these United States, but worldwide.
Yeah, that's exactly right, Cedric.
Yeah, to bring them to Christ. And that's really what ultimately is what he wants. So I think that it was a wake-up call to the churches that we have to do things differently.
I agree.
That's good, Cedric.
And I think too, that if we realize, I think because Kent and I are very open-minded because we've done a lot of missions. So church to us is not the building. We've been to church under a tree. You know, we've been to church in a hut. We've been to church in, you know, buildings that are very unorthodox that would look like, you know, having church, what the traditional church would look like. But church, we are the church.
Yeah.
Right.
And so where we go is where the church goes. And I think I would agree with you in that aspect that it was time for the church to start not being the building, but the people. And so we are the church to get out beyond the walls, to go help people, to encourage people, to reach the sick, you know, to help those that needed help. And so I truly believe it is a wake up call. And I think it's a good thing. And, you know, just the convenience too, like you said, of being able to do it online. I know I find myself sometimes with messages, it's so easy now. I can just click, I can send it to a friend and say, hey, watch this message, when I didn't have that access before. So I believe it's a great way to get the word out.
Absolutely. And so I love, obviously I'm a techie guy, but I love the ability to be able to just like speak into the lives of people anywhere around the world.
Right.
That's awesome. So you're also doing some international work. You're doing a lot of international work. And so tell us about some of the work you're doing. And I know specifically, I want you to talk a little bit about some of the work you're doing with helping young ladies and girls get out of human trafficking.
Well, we are really excited about this work. It's in Belize. We have a longtime ministry friend that actually lives in Belize. He is 84 years old, and this man is on fire for the Lord. And I mean, I'm talking, he wears us out when we go there, just to let you know the energy this man has. So he has been there for numerous years. And so we went over on a trip. He had been in an accident, and we went up, the Lord just directed us just to kind of go over there, check on him, make sure he was okay. So we went over there. And we began to start watching the work that this man was doing. And he was still recovering from an accident he had had previously. And we were watching and thinking, he has such a passion and such a heart. We've got to do something to help him to further this. So he was going to these small villages and finding these young girls. Now in Belize and a lot of foreign nations, a lot of the kids don't go to school past the 6th grade. Well, what do you do at when you're in 6th grade and you no longer go to school? You no longer, you know, you're definitely a predator. You're prime candidate for a predator to come and to try to get you off track, let's just say. So many of these young girls were brought into these owners of restaurants and things like that, hotels would say, you know, come, we'll pay you X amount of dollars. And the next thing you know, they're trafficked. And once you see this, you can't not do something about it. And once we saw it, we said, Lord, you didn't show us this by accident. You didn't bring us all the way to Belize. It was not just about our friend, our ministry friend, but it's the work that you're doing. So we partnered with him, and we have been helping him to further this program. And so what the concept of the program is these young girls, we try to get them right in school at a very young age. And we actually will take them into our program, and it usually lasts about 3 to 4 months. We get them a sewing machine. We provide a sewing machine for them, and we provide all the notions, the fabric, everything. Now they're training out in these small villages under a tree. They set up tables, they set up a canopy, and they bring these young girls there every day for 3 to 4 months. And they teach them how to actually sew as a vocation. So now what this is going to do is this gives them a skill, first of all. Second of all, it gives them money to be able to then sell these clothing and things like that. They make school uniforms for the schools. And then, and they're also learning leadership. And they're learning also, they're learning about the Lord. We share Jesus Christ with them. And they go through the program. At the end of the program, then they graduate from the program. And we have cap and gown graduation. It's a beautiful thing, a big celebration cake and the whole thing. And I had a boutique several years ago, and I had a lot of product that I had left, and I'd been asking the Lord what to do with it. And so we were able to sew a lot of that product into them. We shipped it over there to them. Now they have set up a store, and they're selling a lot of that and the clothing that they're making to be able to bring money and finances into the program. So it is a beautiful thing to see these young girls that, people, you wouldn't even know these little girls exist. We went out to the village, and we had to drive for miles and miles to get there. And here are these beautiful girls. And I'll never forget, one of them told me, she said, people don't even know we're here. And I said, yeah, people may not know, but God knows.
God knows.
And so it's been a beautiful thing. And so we really support that strongly, and watching lives change. These girls are raising up other girls. They're talking, it's growing. Some of the girls that are actually going through the program become the leaders in the program, because then they start teaching the other ones. Now they sew with no patterns. They have no pattern to sew from. So everything, they look at, when I was there, they said, let me see your top. And they looked at my top. They went and cut it out and made a top like that. So that's how skilled these young girls are. So it's a beautiful thing. And we're so excited about what God is doing through that program.
Wow.
We call it the You Sew, She Sews project. So when you sew, and that's SOW, then she can sew, SEW.
Oh, wow. I like that. That is, that's awesome. That's phenomenal. So, that's great work, right? You're sowing into another life, and hopefully then they take that and change their life forever.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I like that.
And I believe they'll become leaders in their communities, from having somebody actually believe in them, and somebody that says, hey, you can do it. So we're seeing great things from that program.
Awesome. So you're teaching them to be, you're taking them out of this negative environment. You're giving them a skill. You're teaching them how to think like a leader, and you're helping them become an entrepreneur.
Exactly.
Wow, that's phenomenal.
Exactly. Yeah.
That is, that's awesome. So you two were blessed to be featured on the cover. Now, some people are just excited to be in a magazine, but you were on the cover of Believer's Voice of Victory Magazine. Well, it's going to be here in just the September issue, right? So how exciting is that? And what do you want to tell the audience about being able to get that magazine?
Well, Cedrick, I tell you what, it's really been very humbling, to be honest with you. And our first thought was, wow, why us? Why would we be chosen for such a thing as that? And we definitely feel very honored, and it's a great blessing, and there's great excitement with it. but there's also humility with it to know that it's the Lord's work, because we didn't request it. We didn't ask for it. We just received an email. And in that email, on a Saturday, be ready on Monday morning because you have a conference call. And it just happened suddenly. And the next thing I thought, well, maybe we'll be in the magazine somewhere. So when we received the magazine, we looked and said, my goodness, we're on the cover.
We hear when opportunity comes, it's too late to prepare, right?
Yes.
We were ready.
Well, that's awesome. So you know what, Kent, what happened is, they said, we cannot put Priscilla on the cover of this. So I guess we better put Ken here too, right?
I'll let him tag along. No, we were so blessed, and we are so thankful to Brother Copeland's ministry, and he has been a great support for us for many years and believed in us, and have been a great influence in our life. And so we were very honored to be asked to be able to share what God is doing in our life over the 26 years of ministry. The one thing I can just say from that, you just be faithful. I think it's not looking for accolades. It's not looking to be on the cover of a magazine. It's not, those are wonderful things, and we are very grateful and very thankful. But I think it's just the consistency, like you spoke of at the very beginning. It's just finding your passion, finding what God has called you to do, and then just be consistent to do it. And that's, I think, how that comes about. It's just staying humble, staying in that level of humility, and just doing what God has called you to do. Yes. And God will bring you before great men. I guess absolutely. That's what I can say.
Yes, absolutely. Well, that's awesome. So, we have a segment on the show that we call Would You Rather. So let's play a little round of Would You Rather. All right. It's going to be very easy. So an audience, every time you can participate in this, just type your answer in the comments. All right. So we'll start with you, Priscilla. Would you rather have $1 million or 1 million friends?
Oh, that's hard. Maybe $1 million so I can bless my 1 million friends.
Okay, all right. So, Kent, would you rather be the smartest person or the funniest person?
Oh, that's a great question. I don't know. Humility really is a powerful. Having the ability to cause people to laugh is really powerful. And I would probably say the funniest.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So you both can answer this. Would you rather meet your great grandchildren or your great grandparents?
Wow.
Great grandchildren.
Great grandchildren.
I'd have to agree with that. Yeah. Okay.
All right. Would you rather have a life rewind button or a life pause button?
That's hard. I would say rewind, because there's a few things I would do different.
Yeah, I would say if I could change some things earlier on and do a rewind, it would help us to influence more people in a greater trajectory.
All right. And audience, remember, put your answer in the comments. All right. So Priscilla, would you rather be stuck in an elevator or stuck on a ski lift?
Oh my goodness. Not an elevator, so I guess I would say ski lift.
All right. So Kent, would you rather have free gas for 25 years or have your dream car?
I think I'd rather have my dream car.
Dream car. All right. Both of you guys can answer this. Would you rather be a ninja or a pirate?
A ninja.
A ninja?
I think I'd want to be a pirate.
All right. So a couple more here. Would you rather, and both of you guys can answer this, would you rather have free Apple products forever or have free Wi-Fi wherever you go?
I'd go for the free Apple products forever.
Yeah.
I always like a new upgrade.
Absolutely. All right. So this is another one for both of you guys. Two more here. Would you rather have your own private island or have your own private jet?
Jet.
Private jet.
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 So
All
more
right.
places
So,
around the world.
Yeah.
all right. All right. Last one for both of you. Would you rather have $1 million in Amazon gift cards or $100,000 in real money?
$100,000 in
Yeah,
real money.
I'd agree with that one. 100,000.
Okay, you're gonna take the real money. All right.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna take the $1 million and then I'm gonna flip it. I'm gonna do like
That's a good one.
That's
I
smart.
like that.
yeah. I'll sell the gift card and say, well, I'll give you this gift card. You give me this amount in cash.
I like that. I like that. Can I take mine back? I think I want the gift cards.
And one of my guests once up-leveled my thinking in this. He says, I'll take the $1 million in gift cards and then I'll give those out to the needy. And I was like,
Wow,
that's a good way to think of.
No,
I
I
was
really
thinking
feel
about
bad.
myself. I was thinking about what I was going to do with it.
yeah, yeah.
That's right.
Awesome. So thank you guys for playing Would You Rather with us.
Yeah, that was fun.
That's fun.
All right. So let's get back to some questions here. So, making an impact on the world is something that should be important to everyone, right? So, I know you guys are doing a lot to make an impact in different parts of the world. But if you had to pick one thing that you'd say, this is the area that I want to spend the rest of my life focused on, what would that one thing be?
Well, for me, Cedrick, I would say we have discovered this sweet spot based on the way that we were raised and the DNA within us and the leadership that we were under as children growing up, and our dads being veterans. And all my life, there's always been a veteran there, either on a job, in mentorship, and thinking of what these guys and these women, these men and women do when they raise their right hand, is the sacrifice that they make of really willing to lay everything down, and they don't know if they're going to come home or not when they go to the four-flung corners of this earth. And so to think that some of these folks could come back from fighting for our freedom, and we know freedom is not free,
Right.
but they're fighting for us. And they're laying everything down. And then we have discovered that there's 8,200 veterans that are incarcerated in the state of Texas alone. And to me, they're like prisoners of war because of the effects of war that it's had on them, whether it's PTSD or whatever it's been, the effects of that, they're missing in action. And so it's almost like going behind enemy lines, going behind the wire, and taking the leadership training that you're very familiar with, the JMT, the John Maxwell team, and all that we have, the 15 invaluable laws of growth, communication skills, entrepreneurship skills, preparing them to reintegrate, but giving them wings to fly so that they can lead themselves once again. They can lead their families, that may be through a letter or on a phone call. But when they get ready to reintegrate back into a civilian world, it's giving them wings to fly so that they don't have to stumble and fall. For me, it's been very fulfilling and very rewarding to see these guys change. And as you were saying earlier, Cedrick, sometimes you can break a book out and you look and someone's crying. You can look and someone's going through transformation. So one of the things that's really got my attention is teaching these men transformational leadership so that they can, even in their world, in their community, some of these men may never get out of prison, but they can have a purpose in prison. And that is to reach the general population and teach them leadership techniques and skills. And we're seeing it work, and we're seeing lives transform. So I'd have to say right now, I'm very fulfilled in what Priscilla and I are doing together as a team. We go in, and Priscilla has some techniques that she uses because she was a high school cheerleader, and she really motivates them. She stirs them up. She gets them excited about living life again. And they may be stuck. They may be flat. They may be depressed, discouraged, ashamed, all those things. And Priscilla will say something like, today is a day we're going to say shame off of you. just brush it off and get back up. And it's time to lead again. You've got too much potential to just stay stuck. So we're here to activate you in leadership. I would just say that right now, Cedrick, that is a spot that I'm very thankful to be connected in, because it goes all the way back to the home I grew up in,
Sure.
that I'm able to pay it forward and say, hey, thank you for serving. Thank you for your time. We honor you. You're not forgotten, and we're here to make a difference in your life.
Wow. That's phenomenal, folks. Let me tell you what, audience. You see, when you have people who are trying to make a difference in the life of other people, they speak it, and all the words that Kent just spoke. If that didn't touch you, if that didn't move you, I don't know what else will, folks. And so what I want you to do is just tonight, just right before you go to sleep tonight, just say an extra special prayer for what they're doing in the community and in the world, that God will continue to touch them and give them the strength and the wisdom to lead. And I guarantee you, what you're going to do is you're going to find a blessing in your life, because you are sowing a blessing for their life in what they're doing. So yeah, that's awesome, Kent. So Priscilla, what is it that Kent said, hey, you are the one that you get them fired up, get them inspired to go to that next level. So what is it that makes you smile every day and makes you get up and say, wow, this is another day to do this?
Well, I think all my life I have known that I needed to help people. That's what I feel fulfilled in doing. I love to help people. And I think that's why ministry, there's been such a call on my life, and I'm sure Kent's life too. But I know as a very young girl, I loved to help someone that I felt was less fortunate, or the underdog. I guess that would be a good word. Somebody that I knew was broken, that needed help, and I found myself at a young age always gravitating to someone that I could find that I could help. And I felt like I was so blessed in my life. And, I had two wonderful parents. I grew up in a great home. And that's not the case for everyone. And so my heart always broke, because I thought, well, Lord, help me to see what I can do to help others, So at a very young age, I knew that was a calling on my life. And so for years, as you stated, some of the things that we've done, and we've been very blessed to do that. And everything that we have done has impacted my life. But I'll be honest, Kent just shared about what we're doing currently, and I never saw myself go inside a prison. I was like, I don't think that's my calling. There's a lot of other hurting people out in the world. Please, Lord, I'll do whatever. I've gone to Africa. I've climbed up a mountain in the bush of Africa. I have done some things that, I know God commissioned us to do, but I never felt a call to go to the prison. And not that I didn't care about people there, not that it was nothing personal. It just didn't feel like it was my call.
Sure. Yeah.
And so Kent came to me one day and said, someone asked if we would take our leadership training into the prison. And I was like, oh my, and I'll be honest. I mean, let's get real. I wasn't jumping up and down. I was like, Pate, what in the world now are we going to do?
You weren't saying, yeah, let's go. Right?
Our kids already think we're crazy, because they're like, Mom and Dad, no telling, where are Mom and Dad? Where in the world are they? But anyway, so, only for Jesus would I do some things. And this was one of them, and so I just told him, I said, well, hey, let's go. And if it's good, fine. If it's not, we'll never go again, and right. So that was kind of my attitude. And so we stood outside the gates, and my heart was pounding. I was nervous. I didn't know what to expect. I mean, if you haven't been somewhere before and you haven't experienced something, you really don't know what to expect. And I stood out there with my heart beating. My hands were sweating. His hands were sweating. We were looking at each other like, okay, Jesus, you better be in this, is all I got to say. Because this one is really pushing it, So anyway, we stood there not knowing what to expect. And I heard this, Cedrick. I heard the Lord speak to me on the outside. And I heard in my spirit, he said, your greatest blessing is on the other side of your obedience. And I sat there and I thought, wow, okay, Lord. So we walked in that day, and I walked inside to the prison, and I met a group of men, veterans that had served our country. And I looked at some of them, and some of them were my son's age. You know, some of them were, and I looked and I thought, now no longer did I just see the outside of the prison. And, you know, I was in my mindset, I was like, hey, you did the crime, you pay the fine. You know, I mean, it's just, this is, and I still agree that there are penalties for making wrong decisions and things, but I saw the humanity of it, and God touched my heart. I saw a man that looked like my father's age. I saw a young man that I thought, this is somebody's father, this is somebody's brother, this is somebody's son, you know. And it just touched my heart to say, you know, if we don't do this, who is going to do this? Because these men need to know that they're cared about, and that they're not forgotten, and that they're loved, and they have value. And they're not just thrown away and nobody cares about them anymore. So that's how it started. And so years later, you know, we're doing this, and I actually walk out now and say, thank you, Lord, that I get to do this. Because I'm watching people. We just got, I wanted to share this with you. I just got a message last night on Facebook, and one of the gentlemen that we have been having in one of our classes, he's gotten out of prison now, and he sent me a message, and he said, Kent and Priscilla, I just want to thank you. I want to read it to you because I want to make sure I said it the right way. He just said, hang on. He said, my life will never be the same because of the exposure to the principles that you and Kent instilled in me. I no longer limit my thinking anymore. You were the spark that changed my whole outlook on how important personal growth is in my life. Wow. Now, you know, when you know that you're bringing something like that's going to change somebody's life. Now he has a 20-year-old daughter. He's out. He's able to now be the leader that he's called to be. You know, those are the things that get me up in the morning. Those are the things that bring a smile to my face.
Wow.
And let me share this with you. A funny story with this gentleman that got out. We were in one of our classes one day, and I was cheering them on to think about their dreams and start dreaming and having vision for their life, you know, not doing time, but investing time. And so I love pink. Pink's my favorite color, and I write with a pink pen. And so I had shown them my journal that day, and I said, here, I'm going to show you what I do. And I opened mine up, and of course mine was full of pink ink all over, and everything was written down. And I said, you know, I write my dreams and goals. I write my gratitude. These are the habits that I do. And I said, so I encourage you to do that. I said, can y'all do that? So one of the guys, this gentleman says, well, yeah, sure, I could do it if I had a pink pen like you. And so I took my pen and I threw it across the room at him. And I said, there you go. There's a pink pen. Now make it happen. So we left that day. He took my pink pen. And we left that day. And so it was about 2 weeks before we came back to that class. And I heard this voice when we walked in the prison. He said, Priscilla, Priscilla, Priscilla. And I said, I'm looking around, and it's this gentleman. And he says, I got to tell you something. And I said, what? And he brings me this piece of paper. Now, I had challenged him to write 100 dreams. I said, just whatever it is, something that is in your heart. I said, I want you to just begin to start shaking those things loose in your life and dreaming again. So he wrote his 100 dreams. He came, he said, this pink pen, and he held it up. He said, has changed my life. And I said, what? And he began to open up this piece of paper, and it was just full of dreams and desires and things he wanted for his life. And he said, I laid in bed at night, and he said, I kept hearing your voice. And he said, that pink pen was laying on my paper, and I just heard, pick up that pink pen and start writing. And he did. And today, that was the message that I got from him yesterday that said, you know, those things have changed his life and his outlook on life. So that's what gets me up in the morning, Cedrick.
I told Priscilla, I said, Priscilla, you should start a specific
pink pen project.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So I think all my veterans are going to get pink pens.
That is phenomenal. And one of the quotes that you guys have on your website is, "Some people dream of success. We make it happen."
That's right.
Right. And that's an example of making it happen. So folks, we're talking to Priscilla and Kent Pate tonight. And I want you to go to the website. You see it scrolling across the bottom of the screen. Click on the website, go and see the work that they're doing. Make a donation to their efforts to help them continue to deliver the word of Jesus Christ and help people who are less fortunate. Now, Priscilla, one of the things that you recently posted on social media, you said, "Hey, friend, did you know that it's your season to bloom? For everything, there is a season and a time for every purpose under heaven." That's a part of, Ecclesiastes 3:1 grade, right? So why do you believe that's important to remind people that it could be it's their season and they need to embrace it?
Well, I believe sometimes people, they don't realize really the full potential that they have. And I think about, I garden, and Kent built me a beautiful garden. And so we live out on some property. And so I look at that, and it really speaks to me a lot of times. And so I watch when you plant the seed, and the seed it's very dormant. It's all encapsulated, just like, for instance, a tulip bulb. You put it in the ground. And I think sometimes people stay in that dark encapsulated place in life, but they don't realize that potential of who they are has a season, a time, a designated time to bloom. My tulips don't bloom all year round. They bloom once. They bloom at a certain specific time that God created them to bloom. And we don't stay all the time in that blooming season. There are different seasons that we go through in life. But just because you're in that dark season doesn't mean that there's not a season for you actually to come out and bloom. And so I just I use my social media to really try to encourage people and to give them thought-provoking type things where they'll really think. And I want people to know that there is a season, and it's just like, you wouldn't wear a bikini in the summer and you wouldn't wear a coat. I mean, you wouldn't wear a bikini in the winter and you wouldn't wear a coat in the summer, so they look different. Those seasons are very different. And so we will look different in those seasons, but I want to encourage people that they do have a season where they can bloom and everyone can enjoy the beauty of who they are.
Wow. That's awesome. Awesome. So let's talk real quickly here in the last few minutes we have. What are some books on either leadership or spiritual growth books that you'd recommend people to get and read?
Cedrick, I remember meeting you at the IMC, and we sat down and had a meal together. And I remember you sharing with us what you did. And it really touched our hearts to say, I'm taking books into young men, young women in the school and helping them learn about leadership. And I think, when I heard John answer the question that someone in the audience asked, John, with all these books, where do you start? And I remember him saying, the number one book I would start with if I were in your shoes would be the 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth. And then I wrote down the top 4 books, and I've kind of stuck with that. But I would have to say the 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth. I have watched people, whether they're Christian, pagan, whatever their religious belief is, I've watched that book help them to become a better person, grow in their leadership, grow in their confidence. I've watched it challenge them to become a better person, a better employee. So I would have to say at this point, the 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth would be a number one book that I would recommend. And then another one that I think in connecting with people and looking from their perspective to help us to connect with others would be Everyone Communicates, Few Connect. Both written by John C. Maxwell.
Yeah. Those are Those are both very good books. Priscilla, you have any?
One of the books that I have spent some time in here recently is the book by Viktor Frankl, Man's Search for Meaning. I have read that, and we have done a little bit of training on that book too. But it's a very deep book. Have you read that one, Cedrick, before?
I'm not.
It is.
I'm writing it down.
Yeah, it's about Viktor Frankl and his experience at Auschwitz in the Holocaust, and it's a hard read because it's very heart wrenching to experience, kind of what he takes you through the journey.
Mhm.
But it has a lot about our meaning in life, and it's a great read. Like I said, it can be heavy at the beginning, but it really gives you a good understanding. We have actually ministered in those areas, and it really gives you a great understanding of what they went through, but also how you can endure hard things in life when you know your meaning.
Yes.
So that's one of mine that I've currently been reading.
Okay. All right. I like that. Well, I wrote those down. 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth. Everyone communicates, few connect, and Man's Search for Meaning. 3 books that you can write down and put into your library if you don't already have those in your library. So for both of you, the kids are gone, the dog's gone, nobody's home. What are you going to eat for dessert?
Well, I got him on a strict diet, so
there's no more dessert.
Oh.
That's only for special occasions now, Cedrick.
Oh, wow.
Some healthy desserts he has to eat.
Okay.
That's bad, isn't it?
Yeah. Every man needs to have a dessert at least once in a while.
Trust me, he sneaks some.
Okay, all right. So what's your favorite dessert then?
I'll tell you what, my favorite dessert, my Priscilla's mom occasionally on special occasions makes me a special coconut pie. And I love I told her, I said, you could have your own company. You could have a pie company. There's nobody that makes pies like you, especially this one. So that's my favorite dessert.
Okay. All
and
right.
Mine is Italian cream cheese cake.
Oh,
that's my favorite.
Okay, all right. I like that. So you guys have to then figure out when it's going to be those special occasions. Like,
right.
Yeah. Is it going to be once a week? Is it going to be once a month?
We do cheat.
Awesome. So, millennials have been leaving the church in big numbers, right? They really haven't been going to a physical church like previous generations. And so what do you think that churches, faith-based organizations should do to help reach millennials and the Gen Zers that are coming right behind them?
Okay, I have a thought on that one. Cedrick, you had asked earlier, what was the turning point for us going into ministry? In 1995, Priscilla and I left corporate America. We left our corporate positions. We, by faith, loaded up our 3 children and went to Bible college. And when we arrived there, I was asked to be the director of outreaches that I knew nothing about. I was a field engineer for 12 years, and I knew a lot about being a field engineer, but I took those principles that I'd learned and I started establishing outreaches. I started in a nursing home, then a homeless shelter, then going to the streets and helping people. But over a period of time, because I had 150 students to work with, they were looking for something to do. And because the Bible school required them to have at least 2 hours of active service every week, then I was able to take the students, raise up leaders, and actually do something to make a difference. And that was my heartbeat. I said, Lord, I don't want to go to Bible college to get smart. I don't want to go to Bible college and sit inside of a building. I want to help people. That's why I'm in this thing. And so what I think right now, there's a golden opportunity for the millennials. In my mind and from my experience, I think that the millennials are thinking, just tell me what you want done. Tell me the end. Don't tell me all the steps of how you want it done. Tell me what you want done. Give me an action plan because I want the experience. I need the experience. I don't need the material thing. I don't necessarily care if I have a car. I want the experience. And I think that if we can establish through the church experiences for the millennials to have, and let them lead and train them up as leaders. I've had a number of them tell me, we're looking for an experience, a mission trip. We want to go on a mission. And so that's what Priscilla and I have spent many years doing. We took 17 mission trips to the Navajo Indian Reservation. And a lot of those people that we took were the millennial age people for a 1-week getaway to meet a group of people, the Navajo people. Some don't have running water, some don't have electricity. And we'd go repair their hogans. We would do vacation Bible school. And when we'd come back, they'd be different. These young people, I would have moms that would call me and say, I don't know what happened with Johnny, but he's not the same guy that left here. What did you do? And I just would explain to him, he had an experience. And it is transformational leadership, because we know that when we not only teach these techniques and we're truthful and we become transparent and we give people action steps and give them the opportunity with accountability, that transformational leadership happens and something changes on the inside and flows to the outside. I would say for any pastor or any church leader, if they can establish outreaches for the millennials to get involved, get engaged, to do something, I think it would be to fulfilling the Great Commission, which we know the Lord has told us, go into all the world and share this good news.
Sure. Absolutely. Wow. This hour has just like, boom, passed by very quickly. And I want to thank both Kent and Priscilla Pate for coming on the show tonight. And audience, hopefully you've had a great time listening to their story, to their journey. I'd ask you to share this video, whether you're watching it live or you're watching it on one of the replays. Share this with someone. You may know someone that will be touched by their story. Share it. Just click the share button. It's very easy. Share it, tag someone on it, and go to their website, KentonPateMinistries.com. Thank you guys very much for tuning in. Make sure you tune in to Talk Leadership with Cedrick on Tuesday nights. Make sure you also come catch our Thursday edition. Friday mornings, you know what's going to happen. I'm going to come to you early and often at 8:30 on Friday morning for Friday Mental Motivation. So come get some mental motivation to end your week strong. And as I always tell you, if you're not at the table, you're on the menu, and don't be on the menu. Thank you guys and have a good night.